Why, hello there. Welcome to another episode of Planet Scooby Reviews. I am Professor Joel, and today's episode is Mamba Wamba and the Voodoo Hoodoo, which was requested by Victor. Victor's requested a few episodes. All of them have been great so far. I'm getting around to them, and other requests have been pouring in as well, too. So thank you for all your requests, and especially Victor, thank you for all your requests and comments. I always enjoy reading them, and I always enjoy the episodes you've requested. So Mamba Wamba and the Voodoo Hoodoo is episode number 9 of the Scooby-Doo Dynomutt Hour, as it was kind of originally known in 1976 when this aired, because it aired with episodes of Dynomutt during Saturday mornings. But we kind of know this episode as season 1 of the Scooby-Doo Show as time has progressed. So this originally aired on November 6, 1976, and it sees the gang in Louisiana attending a concert where their old pal Alex Super is the lead singer. This episode's really relevant right now because Mardi Gras is in just a couple weeks, and hey, that takes place in Louisiana as well. So this episode oozes the 70s with the rock star costumes and the classic rock songs. With his big glasses and shaggy hair and garish stage costume, Alex Super resembles Paul Williams to me from The Phantom of the Paradise. At least to me, although I suppose it could be argued that he could be played by young Elton John who had, his hair still. I just wish they gave the band a name in this episode. Some people say it is called Alex Super, but I've watched this 3 times now. I could not find it. If you see it, let me know the time. Maybe I have a different cut. I do know they called the band the Alex Super Experience in the direct-to-DVD movie called Franken-Creepy. I don't have that on DVD. It's out of print right now. I tried to buy it. It's like $100. I'm like, no, I'm not paying that much. I'll see if I can find it used on eBay or something to confirm. I didn't want to show clips from that though because it would ruin the movie if you haven't seen that yet. It's when you're watching my reviews for this episode, it's okay to spoil it because it's 40 something years old, and I assume you've seen the episode. If you haven't, spoilers. But I don't want to ruin a more recent movie. I think that came out in 2008. So like I said, yeah, I think they call it the Alex Super Band or Alex Super Experience, but there is a lot of fun in this episode with the opening of the concert. And then we have a ancient shaman. He appears like a voodoo shaman during the band show, and he kidnaps one of the band members in a puff of smoke. And there the gang end up at this old plantation where they discover voodoo dolls of their old pal Alex and his band manager Roger, and people are going missing. It's quite the mystery. We also get the zombie, which is similar to the zombie in Which Witch is Which. Again, the 70s are in full force here as this husky zombie is wearing a nice but slightly torn up pink sweater, which is just kind of unusual, but I guess they wanted to make him kid friendly. Finally, we do get the voice work of Lenny Wainwright in this episode, who we'd know him as the original voice of Scrappy-Doo. Well, he voices one of the band members in this episode. And we also get Mickey Dolness, who's famous for being in the band The Monkees. He voices Alex Super. Anyway, enough with my jibber jabber. On with this awesome episode. The episode begins with the gang attending a rockin' concert featuring their good friend Alex Super. Scooby and Shaggy are enjoying a few sausages during the show, and a frugal Fred is impressed they got in for free as concert tickets are only $10.
I think our old pal Alex Super really made it as a rock star.
And what a doll. I mean, to invite us as a special guest.
Especially when our concert tickets would have cost us $10 each.
Velma meanwhile states that Alex is a doll, but quickly backtracks saying that he's a doll for inviting the gang for free. The rock band then goes into perhaps the worst rock and roll song I've ever heard. Alex calls it an original song based on the voodoo chant called the Mamba Wamba, but I call it pure trash. It's just Alex and Lila saying, doing the Mamba Wamba over and over again while Deke beats on some Congo drums and Ray air guitars to nothing, as there's absolutely no guitar to be heard in this song.
An original based on an ancient voodoo chant, Mamba Wamba. Mamba, Wamba, Unga Mamba, Unga Wamba, doing the Mamba, doing the Samba, Mamba, Wamba, Ooh-ah Mamba, Ooh-ah Samba, Mamba, yeah, 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 Samba, yeah, yeah, yeah.
It certainly made Mamba Wamba roll in his grave as he appears and he puts a curse on the band for violating the Mamba Wamba chant.
You must suffer the curse of Mamba Wamba.
Disappearing in a cloud of smoke, he takes Lila with him as she vanishes into thin air.
What's happening?
Backstage, a terrified Alex Super explains that Lila gave him a note before the show that reads, "Do not play the sacred chant or forever return to Maison de Pré, where you shall join the ranks of the living dead."
Do not play the sacred chant or ever return to Maison du Pré, or you shall join the ranks of the living dead.
We also meet Roger, the band manager, who insists that they should not have played that song.
As your manager, I warned you not to play that number.
Maison de Pré, as it turns out, is an old plantation where Lila grew up. It's where Alex first heard the chant and decided to make a rock tune out of it.
Maison de Pré? What's that?
The name of the old plantation near here, where Lila grew up. That's where I first heard the voodoo chant.
Backstage, Velma also finds a voodoo doll of Lila and says it means that the voodoo priest intends to make Lila a zombie.
A voodoo doll of Lila.
A voodoo doll.
It means that the voodoo priest plans to make Lila a zombie.
The gang cart the band, their equipment, and Roger off to the plantation and start looking for clues. They also feel that they should play the song again to invoke Mamba Wamba once more. Roger says they should vow never to play the song again in exchange for Lila.
Then maybe we can make a deal with them to never play the song again in exchange for Lila's freedom.
Maison du Pré, here we come.
With all these sheets, it looks like a ghost laundry room.
While acting as roadies, Shaggy and Scooby begin setting up the band's equipment. Trying to find an outlet that will support the amperage of the guitar and amp, they run into a zombie. Running back to the gang, Freddy decides that they need to split up and look for clues.
So we better split up and look for clues.
Right.
Naturally, it doesn't take long for Shaggy and Scooby to run into Mamba Wamba, who tosses a voodoo doll of Roger, the band's manager, at them before vanishing into thin air at the sound of voodoo drums.
Beware all who enter the domain of the living dead.
Voodoo drums. We heard them when Lila disappeared.
Returning to the rest of the gang, Scooby shows Velma the voodoo doll, and in a panic, Roger sees the doll and runs off into the bayou. Both the gang and the band run out in search of him and find Roger's hat in a stream. They all run back to the house as they hear a scream from Lila. Velma, who is apparently a voodoo expert, well, she states that a ritual ceremony has to occur for Lila to be transformed into a zombie. So Freddy says, let's split up and let's look for some clues once again.
A ritual ceremony will have to take place before Lila can be transformed into a zombie.
Let's split up and search for Lila.
She's right, Alex. I'll go with you.
In a weird twist of fate, Alex and Daphne go off together, and I bet Freddy and Velma weren't too happy about this, especially Velma, who thought Alex was a complete doll.
And what a doll.
Daphne and Alex are caught pretty quickly by Mamba Wamba and his zombie henchmen in the basement. Daphne fakes some awkward kung fu skills, and while her back is turned, Alex and the zombie vanish.
Back off, Buster. My hands are dangerous. Hi, hee, hi, hi.
While Mamba Wamba laughs and disappears into a cloud of smoke. All that remains is the voodoo doll of Alex Super. Shaggy and Scooby have a run-in with the zombie, and after a small chase, the entire gang is reunited. Hearing the voodoo drums once more, Velma wonders where Ray and Deke are. Her question is soon answered as they find voodoo dolls of both Deke and Ray on the fireplace mantle. For a third time in like 10 minutes, the gang split up once again. Shaggy and Scooby, well, they decide to head outside because they don't think there's any zombies or voodoo priests out there, while Freddy, Daphne, and Velma hunt for Mamba Wamba in the basement. In the basement, along with hearing voodoo drums, Freddy, Daphne, and Velma find a secret passage. Using some brute force, Freddy breaks the door down, and they enter the underground passage. Outside, Shaggy and Scooby encounter a playful bullfrog as they try to distance themselves from the sound of the voodoo drums. During their adventures, they come across Mamba Wamba and the zombified Lila beating the drums. The rest of the band are tied up, and Mamba Wamba demands they sign a parchment in blood that they'll never play the Mamba Wamba sacred chant again.
Sign in blood.
Okay, okay.
Zombie Lila begs Alex to sign it, saying that she refused, and now look at her, she's a zombie.
I refuse to sign. Now I am a zombie.
Alex is the first to sign, but the clumsy Scooby and Shaggy, well, they fall through a hay roof, causing a commotion. In the mix-up, the bullfrog makes off with the signed contract. Everyone chases the bullfrog into the bayou, but in the tall grass, the parchment is hard to find. Eventually, Scooby and Shaggy are able to snag it and make their way back to the gang where they untie them. Running away from Mamba Wamba, Scooby and Shaggy take cover in a secret passage that Freddy and the girls have emerged from. Back at the mansion, Freddy creates a trap to catch the trio of Voodoo Hoodoos. And for the first time in a long time that I can remember, the plan goes off without a hitch. Captured, Mamba Wamba is the first to be unmasked, and it turns out to be the band manager Roger, while the zombie is just a random henchman. Lila, of course, was faking the whole thing and pretending to be a zombie.
What is this, a masquerade party?
Roger! Oh, wow!
That's right. And Lilo was in on the whole scheme.
Freddy explains that the demo Alex made for Mamba Wamba was destined to be a big hit, and that it would go on to make millions. And sure, well, I guess maybe it might have. I guess Disco made millions? But seems like a far cry to me. Like I said, that song sucked.
Mamba, Wamba, Unga Mamba, Unga Wamba, doing the Mamba, doing the Zamba, Mamba, Wamba, Ooh-ah Mamba, Ooh-ah Zamba, Mamba, yeah, 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 Zamba, yeah, yeah, yeah.
So Mamba and Lila faked the whole voodoo curse and tried to get the band to sign the songs over to them by giving their signatures on a disguised but legit contract form. Inspired by the voodoo dolls, Alex then has a brilliant idea of manufacturing dolls of the band. Hey, it worked for Kiss. With another mystery solved, the gang and the band sit down to enjoy some crawdad gumbo.
Ray and I learned how to cook crawdad gumbo.
So I give this episode an 8.5 out of 10. Why do I give it an 8.5 out of 10? Well, I take some points off because the zombie is wearing pink. That kind of was a detraction. And then the Mamba Wamba song, it was kind of... They had Mickey Dolness, who's a Monkees, in the band The Monkees. Why didn't they get him to write a great song? Or get one of the musicians off, Scooby Snack Tracks that they had in previous episodes to write a legit 70s song? We had so many bands back in 1976 that were, hitting their stride or, at their peak, like Alice Cooper, Kiss, Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, Rolling Stones, The Who. So many bands. Elton John, David Bowie. Like, kids knew what great rock music was, and this beating drums and air guitar, Mamba Wamba chant, not a good song. I know it's supposed to be a chant, but if it's supposed to be an original piece, it's not supposed to be a direct ripoff of a chant either. So, that's where I had fault with this, because I'm a big music fan, and I just would have, I think get rid of the pink zombie and that Mamba Wamba song, this would have been a 10 out of 10 because the villain is awesome. I liked Mamba Wamba a lot. He was a nice change from the ghost of the week that we kind of got in previous episodes. Like we had the ghost of Bigfoot, we had the ghost of this, we had the ghost of that. It was nice to have a legit, human being as a villain. And the villain is actually kind of intimidating. He kind of reminded me of Mularam from Temple of Doom, except without the horns. So 8.5 out of 10. This is another episode that would make a great feature movie because the plot is awesome. So once again, Victor, thanks for recommending this episode. And thank you to everyone who subscribed and hit the like button and shared this on social media. I have Facebook below for me if you want to make a request, or you can go to my website, planetscooby.com. The link's below too to make a request. Just comment on past review or a vlog or whatever, and I'll see it because I can't have comments on my videos because they are intended for kids, so kids can't leave videos. But if you're using Gmail or Facebook, you can leave comments because you got to be a certain age to sign up for that. So anyway, that wraps up another episode. Until next time, stay spooky.